Hey everybody, happy Friday, or Friday as I like to call it. This is Tom Spot Pens, and this may come as a little bit of surprise to some of you that I'm going live here on a Friday afternoon. We have Chris is out on vacation, so the regularly scheduled Right Stuff podcast will not be happening as it usually does on either Friday or Saturday or Sunday. So instead, I opted for doing a live Q&A and will provide some of the same elements that we would usually provide in the podcast as well. So that includes we'll do a review of the week, we'll answer some questions, I'll ask you guys some questions, and we'll also show a brand new pen that we'll be launching next. So you're getting a exclusive sneak peek on an exclusive Gold Spot pen release. So we'll start off things by just asking if anybody's just coming in today and wanted to hit up the chat here. Let us know what you're writing with. What pens, what inks, what do you have on your desk currently at the moment using on this Friday afternoon? I'll show you what I'm using today. It's kind of a broad range, I would say, of fountain pens. So today I have a Kaweco Sport. This is the iridescent pearl. I have a clip on it. It has a broad nib. And the ink I have is a very shimmery ink called Iris Nebula by Colorverse. It is a wet writing shade. It's a wet writing shimmery ink. It is pretty wet, and using this broad nib makes it nice and shimmery. So then I also have a Lamy Safari. It has a 1.1 millimeter stub nib. I also have a shimmery. Do I have a shimmery ink in this? No, I don't. I do not. I have a Dominant Industry ink in this one. And then to kind of go on the opposite end of the spectrum, I have a Mont Blanc 149, which has a broad nib on here. So Kara's writing with the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande Abalone, which is a gorgeous pen. That is the previous edition of the Brooks materials, which I'm actually looking forward to the new Brooks Momento Zero Grande 2.0 that's going to be coming probably a little bit later this month, which I'm excited for because I'm planning on getting one of those myself. So definitely an awesome pick there. So this broad nib on the Mont Blanc 149, we have inked with Colorverse Sagittarius, one of the new constellation colors. So yeah, as more people come in, just feel free to tell us what you're writing with today, and we'll start, or also ask any questions that you'd like to. So any pen-related questions, any burning questions that you have regarding anything related to fine writing, please leave them in the chat, and I will try to get to them because I do see them popping up at the bottom of the screen, and I will try to read them and come up with an answer. It's kind of a little bit tough because usually I'm kind of doing some research beforehand. If I'm answering them on the podcast, usually I'll, look up my notes and stuff like that. So I'll try to answer what I can, but if I can't, then maybe I'll just answer it later in the comments of this posted YouTube video. Because even though this is live, this will be posted on our YouTube channel for further consumption or later if you want to check it out. So John says that bought a Leonardo Mosaico Baobab. Congrats for 30 years of teaching. That's an impressive achievement. I know teachers put in a lot of work, very, very hardworking, and it's not an easy job these days for sure. Hemingway, what's up, Hemingway? So I'll talk about one item from our newsletter earlier this week, of which we have the 5-star review of the week, and that comes from the Retro 51. This is the Pan Am and the Hawaii poster. This pen is an officially licensed pen with Pan Am. It has stone-washed accents, so you can see the stone-washed pewter accents. It's a darkened gray as opposed to a shiny chrome, which you might see in some other Retro 51 Tornadoes, which kind of gives it more of a vintage look, I feel. And it uses the design elements, the illustrations that were done originally for Pan Am when they had when Pan Am was still flying, and this would kind of be the calling card for people to go on an adventure, go to Hawaii, which I've heard is a wonderful place. I have not visited myself, but it is definitely on my bucket list of travel destinations to eventually go to at some point or another. So this particular edition has been popular since we had released it. It was back on July 1st, I believe. So right at the start of the month, this pen has sold pretty well. A lot of people getting the Pan Am design with the matching tube. So to show the actual design of the pen on the outside of the tube, you could use it as a pen stand, and you could collect it because these will be available in other designs as well. So John had asked any possible news of fountain pen companies designing for the movie Dune. That would be awesome. That would also come with some sort of licensing thing, similarly to how Retro 51 had partnered with Pan Am, which Pan Am is not flying anymore. Like I said, it's not the element of airplanes is not involved in Pan Am currently. It's just a company that now licenses the Pan Am brand to then put on other things. So something like that would have to happen for the Dune stuff. Similarly to, let's say, Montegrappa working with Game of Thrones, or Lord of the Rings is another thing too that Montegrappa has done. So that would have to work out something related to that. What that might look like, I don't know, because Dune is science fiction. You know, it's a very, or I guess you could call it fantasy too. But they didn't. I don't think that they wrote too much in that. So I'm trying to imagine what that might look like, or what company might be best suited to make a Dune type of pen. Maybe something that is like maybe golden and shimmery, kind of like the melange spice. You know, that kind of would look interesting, I think. But yeah, that's a good point, because I would love to see more licensing, or like more partnerships with big intellectual properties. Like Montblanc had done one for Naruto, and you see them pop up here and there, where you see these really awesome intellectual properties that they have great followings on their own, and then they make a pen out of them, and it just ties it all together for the person who wants to collect these things, or write with them, because it brings up so many strong emotional connections. I'm trying to look at the chat here. Question. So from Kara asks, I'm trying to venture outside of my Sailor and Leonardo faves. I'd like to try out several of the Italian brands, but want to be more frugal so I can experience more of them. Suggestions. So Sailor and Leonardo, yeah, they are costly. I would say Sailor's a little bit more higher ended, a little bit more costly than a Leonardo is. Leonardo's, I feel, are great values, especially for an Italian made pen. You have other options in the market, like Montegrappa, which I could talk about. The Montegrappa Marshmallow. This is the Venetia in Marshmallow. And for this pen, you're looking at an acrylic pen. It's a beautiful acrylic. It's got a whole bunch of different colors. It's a marbled, flecked type of acrylic. And you've got here, if you recognize it, a stainless steel nib, Jowo gold-plated stainless steel nib. And it's a Jowo stainless steel nib. So for this same nib that you would find here, you could find it on, let's say, an Esterbrook SD. You could find on Leonardo Momento Zero, Opus pens, Retro 51 pens. A lot of pens come with a number 6 stainless steel nib. But this particular pen, being that it's made in Italy by Montegrappa, is significantly more expensive. How much more expensive? I'm going to go take a look at that, because I actually have my computer up here, so I could look at it and be able to tell you. So the Marshmallow, it retails for $495, and then it's on sale for $445.50. That's pretty expensive, especially when you can get a Momento Zero, which is a cartridge converter filler, which this is also cartridge converter, international style. You could get, starting at, for acrylic stainless steel Jowo number 6 nib in Leonardo, $160, $170. And then this is $445. So you'd be able to buy multiples. You could buy a whole bunch of different pens for the cost of one pen. It just, that's where I kind of feel that Leonardo has an amazing value. Delta has also appeared on the scene again with some acrylic pens, Yovo number 6 nibs, pretty affordably priced at the same, relatively around the same level as the Leonardo. So that might be another option to take a look at. There's the Right Balance, which had just gotten introduced, the Duna, the Dolce Vita, which they're calling the DV Original, is back out on the market, and those have the stainless steel Yovo number 6 nibs. So a that would be kind of like another alternative if you wanted to take a look. But really, when it comes to Italian made pens, they are also kind of hand in hand with being more dearly priced. So if you're looking at like Aurora or Monte Grappa or Visconti, you're visiting a higher price point, or you're paying more for the same thing that you would get with, let's say, a Leonardo or a Delta at the moment. Uh, but in terms of getting that same amount of quality, that same amount of beauty and writing experience, I might also look at, if you're looking at an affordable option in the same range, is not just Italian. I would also look at Edison pens. Edison's production line at 169, I believe now at this point, is a great value because it is acrylic. Same Yovo number 6 that a lot of these Italian companies are putting on their pens anyway, like Delta and Miura and Leonardo. And you know that they're hand finished, and they're made, assembled, produced in the United States with Edison pens. So they would use CNC milling machines, so I'm not going to go into explaining that, but that's not hand turned on a lathe, but they are hand polished and whatnot. So and that would also bring me to discussing a pen that we have as our sneak peek, which I'll show you here, since we're already a little bit ways into this broadcast here. So I don't want to bury it and tell you at the very end what's going to be coming next week. So we have the Edison exclusive that we are dropping on Monday. This is the Edison Newark, which is our own exclusive model. And it is an acrylic fountain pen made with Storm Winds. This is Storm Winds blanks, which is Gen Early. And this is called Blue Nebula, which is kind of like a hybrid of, if you could imagine a swirly acrylic pen had a baby with a Bennu. So it's got like glitter sparklies all throughout, and it has swirling patterns of turquoise, royal blue, purple, white, aqua green. It's such a beautiful, multifaceted sort of color that has such a vibrancy and really a lot of wow factor to this pen. It has a Yovo number 6 size nib, like I mentioned, and it also fills using a international converter or cartridge. Cartridges aren't included, but the converter is. So these will be available on the website come Monday, and they are limited to 88 pieces total. So they have the engraving here on the barrel. I don't know if you could probably see that, but it is out of 88 pieces, and this is piece number 1, which is, I believe, an extra fine nib. Or no, it is a fine nib. So they will be available in a variety of different nib sizes, extra fine through broad, and I believe a 1.1 millimeter stub. So this we're pretty happy. We're so happy with how this came out. This was a project that was in the making for a few months, sourcing the material. This is something that Brian from Edison Pens has started working with Storm Winds for a while, and then when we said like we would love to make another Edison exclusive, of which this is the Blue Nebula, just in case anybody's checking this out for the first time right now, and was just starting to explore these different materials on his own and producing custom made pens. You could get through Edison Pens, which comes at a higher price than you would get from the retailers, but you could then pick whatever material you wanted. So he's experimenting with these materials for his own custom pens. He said, "Oh, I love the look of this one. We have to make an Edison exclusive out of this gorgeous material." So you see, as I'm turning it, it's catching the light, and it just is sparkling outrageously. So it doesn't have as subtle of a sparkle as, let's say, a diamond cast would, but it's not over the top like a Bennu would. So it's kind of a really, I think, in the middle of that. So I said that just kind of seems like a Bennu and a swirly acrylic pen had some offspring, had some pen offspring. So it's a beautiful looking pen. Really excited to uh, launch it to the world on Monday. So if you're on our email newsletter list, you'll get an email on Monday, and you'll see more details about this pen and where to order it. Of course, it's going to be at Goldspot exclusively, so you'll be able to check it out then. And I would recommend just keeping your eye out for that, because with 88 pieces, I don't know, maybe it sells out right away. We'll see. But we're pretty excited for it, and love the shape and everything. And like I think Daisy just mentioned here, most of the Bennu pens have faceted shapes, and let's say the Euphoria's got the straight vertical facets. The Talisman has got that kind of like honeycomb. This Edison is completely round. It does not have any facets whatsoever, but yet it still, I feel like, catches the light really nicely. So it doesn't need really the facets to accentuate the sparkliness about this pen. So, all right, so let me just go look through the comments here, see if I could find another question. See, Chance asks, any bonus hints as to what the July mystery pen drop is? I cannot go and divulge that information, Chance, but I will tell you that there's only maybe I wrote it down here, only 19 of them left. So if anybody was interested in getting the mystery dip for July, which is our third quarter mystery dip, there's only 19 left. We do plan on having another one available come, I believe, in either September or October. We're planning on doing at least 2 for the fourth quarter. So there might be 1 in September and then 1 in November, 2 for the rest of the year. So after this 19 mystery dip boxes are gone, then we're going to be focusing on building for the next one. So let's see. Let's see if I can find some other question. If you just feel free to drop a question in the comments, and I will see about answering it for you guys here. Let's see. Is there so Yash asks, I had a question. Is the Retro 51 Tornado Mini Pencil Crossword Edition collectibles or rare? Retro 51 is a fun pen to collect because they're inexpensive. Oh, and Daisy was asking about the nib. So the nib, you can see the nib. Try to see if I could show it to you. But it's got the Edison bulb logo on it. It's a Yovo number 6, and it still is the older Yovo nib, so it's got the scroll work on it. But it could be a mix mash of different because I've seen them also with the plain Yovo, because like Yovo had gotten rid of the floral accents around the nib, so it may be that there's some mix and match that this may not be the one that has all of them like this, but yeah, but either or, it usually will definitely have the Edison bulb logo on it. So with Retro 51, there's a lot of collectability involved. Going back to the crossword, so like even though it was a really silly or any of the smaller mini pens, if there was like one that was like a very small whimsical pen, like a pocket pen, or like the golf pen, or there was the ones with the top hats on them. If they were made in a smaller production run and they were from years and years ago and they haven't revisited them, they're always, I feel, a very strong collectible, because there's always people that are interested in, let's say, completing the collection of Retro 51 pens. So I think they'll all have value, especially the ones that are like limited runs or the ones from years and years ago, like an Agenda pen, or the ones with the top hats. I can't forget, they were like styluses too. I think that I forget which ones they were called. Oh, if there was going to be a time for the Edison to drop, it'll probably be like, I would say around 12 noon. So just keep an eye out for 12 noon. They'll probably be on the website available then. So generally speaking, like, we tend to put the pens out there for a launch around noon on Eastern time. So right around this time on Monday. Yeah, so I was just looking at something I was looking at on the distance here. So for example, this is a pencil that we had made. This is the Mozart eine kleine Nachtmusik. I think we still have the pencils available. They might be in very short supply, but the rollerball version of this sold really quickly. This is the mechanical pencil, and I mean, pencils, rollerballs, fountain pens, they will all, I feel, appreciate in value with Retro 51 because of the fact that they just keep continuing to create such a great draw for collectors to come in and enter in at any point during their collection with something that they really love. So whether or not it's a connection to music, to art, science, and then all of a sudden you get this world opened up before you, this glorious rabbit hole of so many other designs that you could explore within the Retro 51 line. And then eventually, once you've gotten to that critical mass where you just keep collecting Retro 51s, then you keep stumbling across other versions of pens that, even if they are mechanical pencil, rollerball, fountain pen, little agenda style type pencils, then you just start gobbling them all up. Because they are just so fun in terms of like all of their designs and things that they do. So, so much different awesome things that you could find with that. We were going to talk about the review of the week. So I wanted to talk about the review of the week for the Retro 51 Hawaii poster, because we had somebody write a 5-star review on this Hawaii poster pen. So William S. writes, I'm not a fan of rollerballs. I got this one because of the Pan Am theme. I was a travel agent for years and was a real fan of the airline. That being said, this pen is as smooth a writer as I've ever used, and the design is just great. So thank you, William. That was an awesome review. And it was very quick too, because we just posted this pen back on July 1st, and there's a review on July 3rd. So I guess a testament to how well and quickly we ship our items on Gold Salat, which is, that's not my thing. It's shipping department. Give all credit to them. They do things very quickly, and most items get shipped within 18 hours of getting the order placed on the website. So even though we are closed on the weekends, and we tend to close early on Fridays too now because of the summer, but we will keep working continuously, and orders that sometimes are placed before, let's say 1, 2 o'clock during the weekday end up getting shipped out right away the same day. So we try to, not that we try to compete with Amazon, but we understand that everybody has an expectation, an Amazon level expectation to adhere to. So back to the beginning of the roses. What colors? Okay, so Mary's asking, what color is the wet shimmering ink you've been using in your pen? Okay, so the wet shimmering ink I've been using is the Colorverse. It is part of the Nebula shimmering collection. It is called Iris Nebula. It is a grayish, dusky purple type color, and it's got like a silvery sheen. It's shading, silvery shimmer, and it writes really wet. I couldn't say that about the Horsehead Nebula one, because it just felt like it was very dry. But the Horsehead Nebula was a nice blue color that had a kind of like a coppery, pinkish type of shimmer to it. But this one works really well. It's a very fun shimmer ink. Let's see. Also, our Diaz asks, I don't find the retro rollerball refill smooth. Any recommendations? So the rollerballs that come with the Retro 51 are the capless rollerball cartridge. It's a Ref 5P. However, you can also use Parker style type ballpoint refills, which come in a variety of different brands. So let's say Monteverde makes them. They call the soft roll refills. They also make gel versions too. So I might try a gel if you don't find, because I really find this very smooth to begin with. They are quite broad, and they are very wet type rollerball refills. So if you're used to wanting to get like a finer point, the refill that comes with this is very, very broad. It's like a 1.0, I think, line thickness. Whereas if you, let's say, used a ballpoint refill, you could get finer than that, like 0.7 or 0.5. So I would recommend maybe going that route. go with a gel refill, go with a Parker ballpoint type refill. But I would probably say go with like the Easy Flow 9000, which Retro 51 offers those. Those would be like the equivalent of the Parker style type refill, but they call them the Easy Flow 9000. Let's see. Agree with you. I was just reading here. If there's any more questions on here. Sorry, the phone's shaking a little bit. Yeah. Oh, so maybe a question for you guys if you want to chime in also as well. I was wondering, what is your go-to nib size? So if you have some journaling and some calligraphy, or if you just want to get out your thoughts on paper, what's your go-to nib size preferences wise? Medium, fine, extra fine, flexible, stub, anything at all. I'm just curious to know what you guys are digging these days. I kind of felt like my tastes have gone from when I started from extra fine, which because it was more like what I was used to with gel pens and felt tip pens that I used to use before writing with fountain pens. So, and also too, is I didn't know, I'd heard horror stories about how fountain pen ink interacts with like a lot of different papers. So I didn't want to go too crazy, too big of a point size. So I ended up starting out the extra fine spectrum, but then have moved on for a wide variety of different nibs. So in my collection, I'll have broad, stub, an architect nib, a flex nib. I like a large variety of nibs, and it also depends on what I feel at the moment. So if I'm gonna grab one of my pens, I'm gonna be like, well, what do I want to put? What kind of ink do I want to put in this? Do I want to see a lot of the shading? Do I want to see the shimmer? So for what I was mentioning before with the Kaweco Sport, it's got the broad nib on it. So I know with this nib, it'll work better with shimmering inks. So it'll put more ink on the page. It'll allow for a greater flow, which is ideal, I think, for shimmer inks. And then also too is that this nib, I could just pull it straight out of the grip section and then be able to clean everything out. So, and then for something like the Safari, I like the 1.1 stub because it also does the same thing. It's a broader flow of ink. It gives me a more of a sense of how the ink behaves on paper. And I'm not afraid of it anymore because I tend to use mostly fountain pen friendly papers. But at first, since I didn't fully stock myself with fountain pen friendly papers, I was just kind of testing it out. I had an extra fine or fine point, and have learned to embrace a little wide variety of nib sizes as I went on there. But I think mostly I'm looking at your comments to see, I'm seeing fine, medium, broads and double broads, broad for me. Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think these days now are kind of into the bigger nib sizes, I want to say, because of the fact that you see so many different types of inks that are out there that you would appreciate better if you had a broader nib. And that would be like the dual shaders, the shimmers, the inks that really are better suited for higher flow, broader nib sizes. And Stephanie was asking, is there a planner you recommend that won't ghost? That would be, I would say, the new brand that had come from the Travelers Company. I think this is from the Travelers Company. It's called Plotter. I would check out Plotter. They have some pretty nice inserts for their, and they have their own planners as well. Like it's a ring binder, and they come with inserts there too. And I think that they've been pretty solid with their paper quality. Month videos. So Daisy asks, do we do ink of the month videos too? Knowing how many inks come out every month, and we just actually had obtained Ferris Wheel Press and all of those inks. So that's kind of like a soft launch. We haven't officially said, hey, everybody, we've got Ferris Wheel inks and you could come and check them out. People have already started buying them because they've just appeared on the website. They've got so many colors of ink. So many colors, and they are continuing every month, new colors. And Robert Oster, every month, new colors. Sailor, every month, new colors. Diamine, new colors every month. So it's like, I think that it should be discussed. I feel like that may spur into doing not only top 5 pens, but maybe top 5 inks as well. Although I don't know, because it definitely will depend on what will pop up every month. Maybe it may have to be like, top 5 inks that were released in that month, because if we went with, like, let's say all-time bestsellers, which tends to be more of a consistent roundup of inks, like we had talked about in one of our most recent blog post articles, which kind of introduces people into fountain pen ink and shows off some of the most, like, our most widely acclaimed bestseller inks, which is, like, let's say your Pilot Shizuku Konpeki, J.R. Bond's Emerald of Chivor, the Sailor Manyo Haha. So there's a lot of ones that, let's say that they're just perennial bestsellers. So, like, they'll always pop up on the list. But then there's ones that were just introduced. Maybe we could just talk about those particularly because they are so frequent. They come out very frequently. So there's a lot of ink that, and then too is that they're all different, unique. There's so many different colors that you could explore and play around with your pens, and they all have subtle variations of how they look on the paper. So, like, one blue is going to be completely different to another blue, and then it may have a little bit of sheen, may have some more shading, it may be a higher wetness than the other types of inks, or it might be bulletproof, it might be water resistant. So yeah, I think that there's a space for that. I think we do have to talk about that and talk about that more frequently on our either the podcast or on, like, let's say a top list every month of fountain pen inks, because there's so much that you can miss in a heartbeat too. Like, is that a limited edition ink comes out, all of a sudden it's gone. It's like we want to be able to talk about this stuff so that people could go back, check it out, and find a beautiful new ink that they could use with their pens. So just looking at my note here. So did I cover everything today? Ooh. Okay, so there's one more thing I wanted to mention when we're talking about inks, is that we are planning on doing something for Amazon Prime Day. And even though it's Amazon, which wherever, we're taking it. It's our Prime Day. So we could call it Ink Prime Day, because we're actually going to lower the prices for just only Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's the 11th and 12th next week. I'm giving you the heads up on this so that just in case you do have inks in your cart or on your wish list on Goldspot, that you could have the advanced knowledge of the fact that we are actually going to be lowering prices of anything that's full list price ink bottle wise. We're going to be lowering them temporarily for our Ink Prime Day. So on the 11th and 12th, check out the website and see what the discounted prices will be for the particular inks that you are interested in. So that'll be pretty much across the board, but if there's something that's already discounted on there, I think it's probably going to be the same discounted price, but anything that's a full list price bottle of ink, you're going to be able to see it at a discount come Tuesday. So 2 awesome things next week coming to note, one of which is the Edison Blue Nebula, exclusive Newark, and then the Ink Prime Day, which I mentioned will be on Tuesday and Wednesday. So if that's all for the question part, I'll maybe answer like one more. I was just seeing if I could see there's somebody else that might have had a question here. Let's see. But I was going to wrap it up. But yeah, that, yeah, because we've been talking for about, or I've been talking for about 30 minutes already. So I'll keep it short and want to let you guys enjoy your weekend and whatever plans that you have. I hope that you have fun doing them. And if you are writing with anything, I'd like to know what you're planning on writing this weekend. So if you want to leave it as a comment on this video, if you're watching it after the live, or if you're just finished watching the live video, let me know what you're planning on journaling, or if you have any writing projects that you're working on. I'm interested to know what you're doing with your pens. So yeah, definitely. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you want, leave a like or subscribe or do whatever you'd like to, so that way I know we could come back and do this again. And thank you for watching. Thank you, my friends. Take care.